Oh, uh-oh. We found something. Yes, it paid off. Did any of you bring an umbrella? Good, neither did I. And this looks fun. There's nothing but spikes and thorns. Oh, I'm so happy I found this. This is history that's basically hiding in modern day. Today I'm searching for the remains of the old CNJ car repair shop and a section of an old rail loop. So come along with me, let's see what we find. Unfortunately, I picked one of the windiest days ever to do this video, so if there is any wind distortion, I do apologize. But to put things into context as to what we're looking for, and actually where we are too. So this area right here, right in front of us, is a location I visited twice this year. I was here the first time over the winter time with Lily, and when we were documenting the rail yard and the Lehigh-Susquehanna line and parts of the Ashley-Huber breaker. I came back about a month later with Alan, and we went through the culvert that goes underneath the whole rail line and explored part of this area here. Well, after doing those videos, many viewers have reached out with some very helpful information, including some old historical photos, websites, and other detailed information, and we were able to confirm that what we're looking at here, this structure was part of a roundhouse. So a roundhouse once stood here. Excuse me, we can actually confirm it even further because there is rail lines right here, and this is an open pit. So this is one of the stalls where a locomotive once stood. Yeah, this is just one of the many stalls inside the roundhouse. That's one of the walls for the structure. It was not a fully enclosed roundhouse, obviously. It originally had a 70-foot turntable, and they later upgraded it to a 100-foot turntable due to the increased size of the locomotives. Now, upon looking through the research and gathering what I could, I did do a live stream after those two visits showing my new findings. That sign wasn't there last time. And what I was able to confirm is that, number one, this was a roundhouse, but over in that area, there was another large building, and it's confirmed that it was the car repair shop where they worked on the fleet of equipment here in the CNJ yard. And a couple things we can distinguish is that the repair shop was to the right of the roundhouse. So we're facing the roundhouse, it was to the right in that direction. Solomon Creek, which flows through the property here, through the culvert, it's on the right-hand side of Solomon Creek. So we're gonna make our way over towards the creek, and off to the right-hand side of it should be the location of the building. Another thing too we're gonna be looking out for is there was a bridge at one time going over Solomon Creek that held the lines going into the car repair shop. The bridge is no longer there, but what I can do is show you on maps as I start walking here what we're actually looking for, and what we're going to be keeping our eyes peeled for. Now, the building is no longer here. It operated up until 1970 and then was destroyed by fire in 1972. So if anything, I'm hoping we can find a foundation, maybe some rubble or anything distinguishing that a building once stood there. But as you saw in the images, it is a pretty prominent sized building, a large rectangle, and it was to the right hand side of the roundhouse, which is kind of what we're walking in right now. And I'm coming at just the right time because spring is here, and even though we've had some questionable weather, foliage is growing back in. So if I waited too much longer, it'd be very hard to find anything, but it's still kind of bare enough that we can hopefully locate something that's here on the grounds. So I'm going to make my way in the general area that we need to go to. Once I do get closer, I'm going to bring it back. I'm also going to be checking my phone on GPS maps, make sure I'm in the right area, because this area is pretty dense and I could mistakenly be somewhere else and not even know it. So I'm going to get my bearings, get to the right area, and we'll pick up from there. You can see an outer wall of a foundation here, and it's going at an ever so slight curve. So this can confirm that we are in the roundhouse here, and this is the exterior portion of it, probably the back wall, and it's a very slight curve, but I just wanted to point that out. It is pretty visible right here, pretty evident, and it just goes at a little angle. So in here would have been stalls of locomotives. This appears to be an old road here. You can still see the patches of asphalt. As you come over here, there is one of many pipes that we have discovered last time we were here, and I wasn't sure what they were for, and many people were able to confirm that these pipes were used as underground testing for contaminants. So back in the day when this was operating in a rail yard, which ended in 1970, I believe, I'm sure stuff from their operations leaked into the ground, and they were checking to see if it had contaminated the water. This one is padlocked, some of them are not, but I can confirm though the water is safe though. We did trace its source up to a reservoir, and it is clean, drinkable water. So to this day, there's no contaminants, it is safe water, but these are still evident from the activity that took place here. All right, so there's a rail line ahead of us here. I believe that's RJ Corman, which does come through here not so frequently, here and there. And we need to cross over there and get to the creek, which is just over there. So we're getting closer, but somewhere where we're looking would have been the building. So let me safely get across and we'll see what it looks like from there. You know, giving this another look, I'm able to determine, I think this was actually a section of line that they maybe had attempted to pave over. There are some embedded rail ties, and you can see the indentations of where ties used to be sitting. So it's kind of odd that it is blacktop material, but I'm almost certain this was a rail line of some sorts, but definitely ties embedded, and all those little notches is where ties used to be located. So maybe they put ties over the blacktop. Not really certain of that, but that is something that does stand out though. It looks like it kind of does curve. Even though the path goes straight, the blacktop portion goes to the right over there. All right, we're on the other side now, and over here is some more evidence of those pipes that we mentioned. This one has some posts around it. And here is the other side of the culvert. Actually, a second culvert. Water level is actually up pretty high right now. So let me lay it out for you here. If we were to go underground on this culvert, there's another opening over there. And that's where me and Alan came out when we crossed under the culvert. So in the woods there is a break in between the culvert that we're standing on and the culvert that we entered in. So it's two separate culverts, and the first one goes under the abandoned rail yard area. The second one goes under the active line here. Now this active line was also one of the lines that did go parallel to the car shop, which would be sitting over here. And when it goes this way, there would have been another branch going off to the right, which is the big loop, which we're going to be focusing on second after we check out the car shop area. So we are in the right area. And as mentioned, there was a bridge going across here somewhere, and that bridge held multiple rail lines that entered into the car shop. And I'll even put it on the screen to show you again to confirm that. Now there is some evidence too that I did find last time on the left hand side through the woods, which I'll take you down there in a little bit. There is some charred timbers, very large timbers that are burned. Now, as mentioned, the car shop, which was over here, burned in 1972. It was destroyed by fire. The bridge was destroyed by fire in 1979. So those timbers could be one of two things. It could be parts of the car shop, which they may have maybe just moved the debris over there to get it out of the way, or it could be parts of the actual bridge that went across. So when we get over there, I'll give you guys a good look at it. Maybe you can help determine that, but I'm pretty confident saying that one of those two scenarios is the result of those charred timbers. It's either the car shop or the bridge. So this is known as Solomon Creek, and we're going to focus on the right hand side here, and I'm going to keep my eyes peeled. Now, I did confirm on my phone and Google Maps I am in the right area. As to how far back it is, that I don't know. So it may take a little bit of searching here. It's actually a big drop off, actually. Okay, so there's a big drop off here. I'm wondering, I mean, it's a kind of a clearing down here. I wonder if this is where it was, essentially. All right, I'm gonna double check on maps, make sure this is the area. And I'm gonna make my way down there and we'll kind of investigate and see if we can find anything showing that the building once stood here. Just made it down that embankment and I'm now in a pretty level area, although it is thick and overgrown. I'm gonna try to make my way towards the center, and we should hopefully, fingers crossed, we do find something that does resemble that a building was once here. There's also a chance maybe everything is gone, including the foundation. But what we discovered earlier with the roundhouse and other things, there is rubble, there's foundations, there's brick. So maybe it's gonna be a needle in a haystack type of thing. So if it's coming through on camera, we're walking in a big level area. We came down the embankment, and here it's relatively flat, and these trees aren't all that old. So if it burned in 72, you know, we're looking at what, 50 years or so, 51 years? Yeah, about 50 years it would be. And I don't see an evident footprint of the building. Obviously, things are going to change over time. But at the very least, it's a large enough area to hold a building. I can confirm that. I'm going to come over here closer to the edge and kind of poke around. There's the embankment. The active line is up there. So I know the line went next to the building, which means we are, you know, all signs are pointing that we're in the right area. It's getting a little thick here, but it's manageable. There's various things laying around, but the hard part is determining if it's original or if it's been placed here. Like just for example, there's a scrap piece of metal right there. There's something else there under the logs, so you know, you don't know if it was dumped here or placed here when they kind of took care of the remains of the building. Now, even though it did burn, you know, I don't know what it was constructed out of. I'm sure wood was definitely part of it, but was there any metal involved? Was there brick? Was there cement? That I don't know. There's more pieces of scrap metal, but nothing clearly showing, you know, a building. Here's some chunks of concrete here. Oh, uh-oh, we found something. Yes, it paid off. Look what I found, guys. That is a rail. So we are right now inside of the car repair shop. Rail lines came through the entire building, entered and exited on both ends to service the fleet of cars. And this is 100% solid confirmation. On top of that, that is concrete. Concrete base, rails, that one is cut off right there. 100% confirmation we are inside the car repair shop. So look at the way the rail's going in this direction here, straight to Solomon Creek. The bridge would have been over there. Now, I don't know if we're in the middle of the building or off to the edge of it or what. We're going to try to figure that out. There's actually some timber right here too. That is milled timber. So I'm finding more here too. There's another chunk of iron coming out of the ground. Oh, it's actually just laying here. It's like a piece of a support maybe. Oh, I'm so happy I found this. This is history that's basically hiding in modern day. Another piece of timber there. All right, I'm going to check this area in more detail, and when I find more findings, I will bring you back. But 100% concrete and rail right here. I didn't have to go very far, because right here, don't mind the wind, is some more milled lumber. Big planks of it. The rail still continues. It does get buried under debris, but it is headed in that direction, which we're going to make our way back there. But as we cut across here, I'm trying to determine if there is anything that is visible, because a lot of it is buried just from the decades of debris. Yeah, it's more concrete right there. So we're still inside the building. Let's head to the back. This would be the opposite end, away from Solomon Creek. Let's walk toward this part and see if there's anything more evident back here. Okay, so the one thing I'm noticing is that concrete line that we first discovered by the rail is right here with an edge. So I'm wondering maybe this is the edge of the building, you know, or at least near the edge, and everything was in this way. It's just, you know, my thoughts at first glance of it, but oh, here's the rail again. The rail is still continuing. And there's more rail. So my observation was incorrect. So that concrete line that I just pointed out is not the edge of the building. Line is over here too, which means this is still inside the building. So the edge of it is probably near the embankment right there, closer to the active line. Do me a favor, if you are enjoying this so far, please give the video a thumbs up. You know, I am doing the effort that I said I would do to come back here and try to discover and show what's left of the old car shop. On top of that, we still have to figure out the bridge location and to see what the old rail loop looks like. So a lot more to come. If you are enjoying it though, please give one of these. Got a little clearing here. You can see the line up there. Now the building doesn't go straight. If it did, it would go into that line. It actually sits at an angle, you know, kind of like this. So top of my hand would be the shape of the building, the rectangle, sitting in this orientation. So it went pretty much parallel to that line, which is going, you know, slightly in that direction. Now back here, I'm not seeing too much right now. Not to say there's nothing here to find, but there's so much debris piled up. You know, if you were to come here with a piece of heavy machinery and kind of scrape the ground, I'm sure it would uncover a lot. There's a tie right there, covered in some nature's carpet. Well, I covered a lot of ground, and I'm pretty far back now. Even though it keeps going, I am a good distance away from Solomon Creek. I think I'm beyond where the building would have stood, and I'm not seeing anything back here. Although the landscape is kind of hilly here. There's little piles of stuff here and there. It could be burying something, but with the naked eye, I'm not seeing anything at all. Just some general garbage and debris. So I think I maybe came back too far. But I am optimistic though, and keeping checking. Oh, no. Jeez, right in front of me, look at this. Huge section of rail right here. Well, history is proving that I'm wrong again. We are still inside the building. This is remarkable. Yep, here we are, another section of rail. Concrete here, concrete there. This building was much larger than I anticipated. No, This was altered. Obviously the rail is kind of being buried from that concrete, so something pushed that up. Probably when they were kind of cleaning up the debris of the building after the fire. I didn't think it was back this far. I'm astonished. Okay, I'm coming to a pathway here, and that's showing some exposed concrete. The building is still here. That's just a crossing. We are walking on concrete right now. We are still inside the car shop. I want to see what this looks like. This was a gargantuan building. I can't imagine how many cars it would have held at one time. And this is not slabs, they're just laid here. These were poured here. Okay, so it drops off here. This, I'm gonna sound like a fool again if I'm wrong, but this essentially could be one of the endings of the building, the sides. Now it does go off into a residential area over there. There is a lot of debris and stuff dumped back here, a lot of garbage. And back here now it turns into piles of material. So what I want to do is get over closer to there and see if there is anything still existing. Otherwise, I mean, the same shape lines up. You know, you see the slope here we're standing on? That level part is the concrete. So it lines up with that. We're down lower. So I'm going to get over there and check that out next. Scouring this area, I'm coming across piles of ties and or timbers. They look larger than railroad ties. It may have been part of the building, but they're just laying here on this embankment. So walking this embankment brings us back up to the floor level of the building. Is there something over here? I think there is. Yep, we got something over here, man-made out of concrete. Huh. This went down at one time. This is like a shaft of sorts. There's ladder rungs. There's one that's exposed. The rest of it is under debris. See how the rebar sticking out? Looks like there would have been a hatch here as well. This may have been either inside or outside of the building, but this is filled in. But this was access to something, maybe a basement. All right, back here it gets really, really thick, as you can see. I'm not going to go any further. I don't think I'm going to really discover anything just because it's so thick. But just to show you, there's another timber here. And you can see it's notched out. So there's a notch from there to there. It could have been maybe for the construction, like the tongue and groove type of design. This is something else. All right, so with that discovery there, we're going to mark this as kind of the rear of the building. We're now going to retrace our steps, go all the way toward the front. I'm going to find where the rails are that we first discovered and walk towards Solomon Creek, and maybe we could find, some type of foundation or something, or see if the rails do continue to the edge of Solomon Creek. So I have a lot of ground to cover. You guys will only be waiting a few seconds, so I'll see you over there. Something else I'm pointing out too, because I was actually searching for some dates or stampings on the rail, which I can't find. The one thing I did notice though, and I'll show you as a snapshot, which will come through clearer, is much of the sides of the rail are encased in concrete, which means these rails were laid down and the concrete was poured around it. So these tracks were, the top of the tracks were level with the concrete floor and only had the little space for the flange of the wheel. So these obviously were not raised up off the floor. They were sitting floor level and they were encased in concrete. So all you saw was the tops of the rail, similar to how you would see at a railroad crossing going over a road where the concrete or blacktop is encased around the rail and all you see is the top exposed portion. So it makes it very difficult to find any stampings or dates, but I will keep my eyes peeled if we do come across any other tracks to see maybe if there is an exposed area that does have the stampings for the date or the pound per rail, pound per yard of the rail. Boy, that was a trek. Okay, so I made it to our first discovery where we found this rail in the concrete here. Remember that piece I pulled up from the ground? So I kind of exposed some of the rail and I can't see anything. Actually, wait, hang on. I thought there was something there. It's not. Yeah, there's nothing being exposed as far as stampings. If they are, it could be too far gone as far as weathered away, or they could be on the other side of the rail, which is encased in earth. Same thing here too. I can only show just the upper portion of the rail. But I was explaining earlier how the rail is encased in concrete. So here's a good example of it where concrete's here. Here's the rail, and it is pretty much flush with it. So, you know, if they were operating equipment inside the building, you know, that way they're not having any trouble as far as crossing over the rails. It is the same level, same height as the concrete itself. And there just would have been a space, depending on which track this is, for the flange of the wheel to, you know, ride down here of sorts. So just wanted to kind of point that out and show you a good example of that as to what I was explaining earlier. But with that being said, I still have more ground to cover. So I'll see you further up, closer to Solomon Creek. So right up there is the embankment. That's where we came down. And this is the big open clearing that we saw, and we went in that direction. So now, which is gonna be easier said than done, we're gonna head this way. It's pretty thick. I'm gonna keep you rolling with me as we do this, and that way we could possibly find something together. There's a big chunk of limestone there. I'm trying to see my best path of least resistance. We'll try over here. Oh, maybe this was a good idea. I just found something. Here we go. Look at the size of this concrete. And on top of that, we do have evidence that the bridge crossed here. Now, I will make my way over there because over there is the charred timbers. Myself and Alan were standing there by those manhole cylinders. And we were looking over here. I remember in that video I was pointing out, I'm like, yeah, this wall collapsed. This is a stone wall. It's the same as on that side. But the unique thing about it is there's actually a lip there. It's where most likely timbers would have sat as like an abutment. And same thing on this side. There's actually, I don't want to get too close here. But yeah, there is a lower lip from where these stones are, which you'll be able to see once we get to the other side looking this way. So we're able to confirm that that bridge crossed in this area, which would make sense why there's charred timbers right there, because the bridge burned in 1979. The car shop burned in 1972. So this is all kind of coming together, as I like to say, you know, another piece of the puzzle. There's actually some concrete down there too, the rebar sticking out of it. So this is a pretty unique area. So what I need to do now is, well, wait for the wind to stop. I'm gonna make my way back up to the top of that culvert crossing there, cross over the stream and come down this side. And I'm gonna meet you right over there by those timbers, and we'll check those out and see if we could make out if that was actually part of the car shop or the bridge. But being on its location, I'm leaning towards the bridge, but hopefully we'll find that out together. So if you get lost, just yell for me, but I'll see you over there.